Have you ever been searching for something and then you're going through this box and you get this idea? Well, this is the latest thing that I've been working on. Hi, I'm Roberta and welcome back to Quilt Crafters Corner. Today we're going to talk more not only about those scraps and those strips that we have in those boxes, but a new interesting way to look at how you can put these together. Now this is a pattern that I came across, over 10 years ago, easily over 10 years ago. And it really caught my eye because it was unique, it was different, and it was a little bit something that I had never done before. So this is the idea that I've got, or that I saw and I found, and it's an old pattern. It's from like the 80s, where everything was done with templates. Well, I've kind of refreshed it a little bit to make it rotary cutter easy and a nice easy way to put this together. So let's go over to the cutting table and we will dive into this stacked blocks, stacked bricks, stacked strips, whatever you want to call it. Over at the cutting table, I'll show you how this is done and how you can take some of those templates and turn them into a way to use it with your, current day rotary cutter and rulers. So here we are. Now this is, like I said, this is a really simple, easy pattern, and it just takes strips, 2.5 by 6.5. These are just, as you saw that box of scraps, that's what this is. It's just 2.5 by 6.5. I have more here that I've kind of been playing with adding into this. And I sort these into darks, mediums, and lights. And you can see this pile is a little bit of everything. And I had, because I just, started cutting more for this particular quilt. Now I've made 3 of these. I made a smaller version, a pink and brown one. I'll put that on the screen so that you can see it. And that was the first one that I did. And that one I did following the rules of the template and thought, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I started, with my ruler and figuring out what each piece needed to be and how to do this so that it would just turn out better. Because in the original pattern, it calls for these half square triangles to be sewn on each end of this, and that was kind of a nightmare because some of them went on really easy and some of them didn't, but I'll show you that when we get to that point. So that's the first thing you need, 2.5 by 6.5 inch strips, and then I have some 4.5 by 2.5 inch strips, and that's for these pieces here. Now those are for the tops and the bottoms that go onto each row that's up there on the wall. So let me grab that, what's on the wall, and I will show you how this kind of goes together. Like I said, it starts with 2.5 by 6.5 inch strips. And here's more, there's mediums and lights. Now when I go to do the 2.5 inch squares that go on each end, I'm just cutting up these old squares that I have. They're not square at all by any means. They're kind of weird wonky shapes, but I'm getting 4 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch squares out of each one of these. So that's what I'm using for my whites or my neutral colors. You could use anything. You don't have to use all the same fabric. You could use whatever you have in your scrap bin. If you have a nice scrap bin of neutrals, use those up. This works really good. I also did a blue one, and I'll put a picture of that one on the screen. And I did something a little different on that, only because I was thinking I wanted it to kind of look free floating. So I didn't eliminate. I just made the center strips in between each row a neutral color instead of a dark color to differentiate the rows. Now these are the rows here. And this is really, really simple to do. So don't overthink that. And what I do is I've cut all of my rectangles, my 2.5 by 6.5 and my 2.5 inch squares, and then I just start sewing them together. This is one side sewn together, and there's some more of that. And then I have these are the ones that are sewn, both sides. And this is a simple, easy way to put this together. I've got my pencil and just a quarter, depending on which way my diagonal is going to go. See, I could have my diagonal go that way, or I could have the diagonal go the other way. So what I do is I just mark a 1/4 inch there. I get my next strip. I line this up, and see, you can see there's a 1/4 inch there going off that edge, and pin that. I have to hide my pins from the cats because they like them. And I just pin and take it to the machine and sew it. Now I usually have 2 or 3 rows, or all 8 rows. 8 rows will make a really nice twin size quilt if I do 8 rows of these. And each one of these rows has 27 of the of these units here. So I will just keep adding to them until I have 27, and then I will put my tops and bottoms on. Now, depending on which way the row's going. Now here's the other row, and once again, same thing I do is just mark my 1/4 inch and add another, just add another row. And then what that does is it just keeps growing until you've got 27 of them. Okay, so that's ready to be sewn. So those are all ready to be put together. So I'll go put those together, and then I'll show you the next thing. So this is a really lovely way to use up some of those scraps that you already have. Now, I really enjoy not only finding new ideas and unique ideas, but I love sharing them with you. And I've got this membership called Stitch, and we're going to explore more ideas like this, and we're going to discover new things that we can do, not only with our scraps, but that fabric that we already have, and maybe even go and buy some new fabric. But these are just all ideas that I love playing with, and I hope you do too, because this is just something that we need to do with our scraps that we already have, but also just that need that we all have to create. I love new ideas, and I love creating things that I've just kind of gone, ooh, what if I tried this? So that's what Stitch is all about. Stitch is about a place where we're going to say, ooh, well, what if I try this? And what if I do that? Because that's what really kind of excites me and makes me love quilting all that much more. So come join me in Stitch. There's a link in the description below, and we are going to have a great time in there, and you're going to absolutely love everything that we do. Okay, and as you can see, there are the 2 rows. Let me move all this. And here are the 2 rows now. Now, originally, the templates called for half square triangles here, and I thought, because I had real trouble getting those to all line up, and I went, well, why don't I just put these 2.5 inch squares, and then what I can do is, as I'm going along, I can just mark where and see, now I have got this great 1/4 inch seam that I can do, and what I'll do is I'll just cut all of those off, and I'll have my nice straight edge. But before I cut them off, what I do is just inside this line, I stitch not even 1/8 of an inch, just right inside this line. Now, why do I do that? I do that because then this stabilizes it. It doesn't stretch, because this is on the bias. So you want to just stitch right inside that line, and it stabilizes this edge, and then it goes together really nice with whatever you're going to put in the middle. Now, I've done this. I have done when the pink and brown one was, when I did the pink and brown one, this is the row that's in between them. Now, I also did it, the last one, with just white, something, you know, so that they looked more free floating. And that's what, you know, the same color, if you do something white, these will look like they're just floating there in the background. So those are two options for you to do. But I strongly encourage you to do the stitching, because it just makes it so much easier to get this sashing in between these rows. It just makes it simpler, easier, and you'll be much happier with it. Now let's talk about the tops and bottoms of these, because there's some interesting things that you got to do there. And this is same thing. You're going to be doing the same exact thing. This is the top, and you'll notice that this does not have a square. It has a triangle. So what I do is I take one of my 2.5 inch squares and I cut it in half, and then when I go to put those together like so, I will fold my triangle in half, crease it, and I'll crease my other thing, line those up. Now this is all ready to sew, and these are going to be the tops, those top points that go up into that upper corner of my rows. Now you do this top and bottom, and then the last piece is this piece here. Now what you're going to get is you're going to get this top part up there. So this leaves this corner open over here, so you need to get another half square triangle, and what you'll do is you'll cut, I just sew those on, cut one in half, sew them on, and then trim it up, and it all gets trimmed up when you go to make your row. So that's how you put your rows together. It looks complicated, but it's not. Once you do your first one, you'll go, oh, I get it. The only thing complicated is you've got to have a kind of a one going one way and one going the other way. So you kind of have to reverse these so that you can get these, you know, all straight, because that's what develops that straight edge across the top. Now actually this one needs one of these. Do I have, oh yeah, here. I can put that up there. And so there's that top one. And now this guy will go like right up there like that, just like so. And that's how you do your tops and bottoms. It's really simple. It's really easy. I've re-engineered this to do this without templates and to do it, you know, with rotary cutters and our rulers that we have, because it just makes it so much easier that we've got these great tools that we can use now. So let's use them to our advantage. Simple, easy, put this together. And the nice thing is especially when you're doing these, when you're putting these together, this is just chain piecing, you know, feeding it through. And I usually do 10 at a time. That way I can kind of keep track, because you need 232 for a twin. I can't remember what the number was for the smaller ones, and the smaller ones are not 2.5 inch strips. They're 2 by 5. And if you want those, leave me a comment and I will reply with what you need to know as far as doing a smaller quilt. The smaller quilt is about 52 by 72. The bigger one is about 72 by 92, and that's once you get all of your borders and everything on. Like I said, I've made several of them because they just are easy to do, and it's just kind of sewing and putting these all together. Just remember, you know, you've got to mark your 1/4 inch whichever way you're going. And this is a real simple way to do, you know, just put your strips together and use them up, because they're not doing any good in that box or that drawer over there. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this idea. It's a great way to use up more of those scraps and strips that you already have. And even if you do need to go into some of your stash and add some colors, now I did this one all out of greens. You could do it any colors you want. You could do it in primary colors. You could do it all out of solids. You could, like I've done a blue one, I've done the pink and brown one, I'm doing the green one now. There's multiple of ideas that you can do. You could do them all different colors. And the other thing is you could even use some of your scraps and make your strips out of those scraps. There's so many ideas that I have that I would love to share with you. So come join my membership Stitch and learn more of these ideas. We're going to have great fun. We're going to be curious. We're going to be playful, and we're just going to have a really good time. So I hope to see you in Stitch. Thanks again for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't. I do appreciate it. It does help me out, and I love reading all of your comments. So until next time, happy quilting.